Hey guys, it's Morgan coming back to you with another video. Although this one I was going to say about the 2023 300XC, but it's not. It's actually about the 2023 300SX. Good friend of ours, Todd Colvin, just picked this motorcycle up. It has like no hours at all, maybe 0.2. Anyway, he just picked it up from the dealer. He brought it directly to us. We got some stuff we're going to do to it. But honestly, more importantly, he brought it by so that we could shoot some films of it, like testing it against the 300XC and also showing you the full walk around, what the differences are between the two, anything like that. So to start, guys, if you have questions, post them below. Comment below for your questions. We're going to try to get to everything that I know of right now, but I'm sure you guys will have more questions for me. So let's start off with the quick walk around of this bike. And then we'll start talking about the differences between it and my bike. Obviously, my bike is highly modified now, but we're going to talk about the stuff, the nuts and bolts that are different. So first of all, guys, one thing that's hugely different is the SX comes with Excel rims. Obviously a 1921 instead of 1821, but it comes with the Excel Takasago hoops, which are definitely stronger than the stock hoops on my bike. I think the XC came with DID Dirt Stars. I've obviously got the Bulletproof Designs ones on right now, but the stock ones were not the high-end Excels. So that's pretty cool. It does have the 22 millimeter axle, so it is the same as that. It's got the, you have to have different spacers and whatever, all that stuff. We've already talked about that. The linkage and shock are the same. The forks are the same. The valving and everything inside is very different. Recommendations on clicks are different, but basically it's the same fork, same shocks. Comes with the same cool shorty silencer. Obviously, pipe is basically the same. Clutch cover is the same. People have asked me on mine, and I'm sure they'll ask about this. This is not plastic. It is magnesium. It's just black. Foot pegs are the same. Brake pedal was the same. He put this on already because he's got huge feet. Tank is under 2 gallons. I think it's 1.8, 1.9. Obviously, it looks very different. It's not clear. Doesn't come down. It does have the same pickup. It's kind of about here on this, so it's going to be even easier for this one to splash the gas in. Now you can get a good look at the power valve cover, at least right there. The actuator sitting right there. Does not come with a skid plate, but for those of you who might wonder, it's got the mounting holes. It's just got bolts painted over in it, but it does have the same mounting holes that mine has right there. Same brake pedal setup with the kind of oblong thing through here, so just the nut. You don't have to have the Torx for that. Brembo brakes, front and rear. Same fork guards as the XC, same fender, same number plate, same radiator braces or louvers. It's got the same front brake rotor with the hole in it, so if you did want to put that kind of speedo on it, you could. It's got the hole already in the caliper holder, so you could do that version. Same crankcase pressure sensor, obviously same throttle body and all that good stuff. Does come with the vented airbox cover. It comes actually with both airbox covers. My XC did not come with both. It only came with the solid one, which personally I like better because it should theoretically take longer to get dirty with less venting. So it does not come with a kickstand. He had the dealership put that on already because he just wanted a kickstand. But it's interesting, guys, if you do a kickstand from Fastway, it's pretty cool. It's got this bracket here that just wraps and pinches onto the frame with this bolt. And then it's got this bracket here that goes, let's see. So it goes where the bottom chain roller goes, and it bolts in there, then adds this bracket and goes on there. I like that a lot because on my XCW, there's a single bolt that goes through, and when I put a Fastway kickstand on it, it honestly fouled everything up. It didn't work very well. So I like that setup. If you're going to run a Fastway, I like that a lot. Same swing arm guide. He chose not to get the bracket back here from Bulletproof Designs because he felt like it stuck out a little bit. It was one more thing to hang up. And honestly, these tabs are burly. You can see I mean, they're just part of the cast of the swing arm, and they're super, super strong. Final drive gearing, same as mine. It's 1449, but the internal gearing is very, very different. I have the book here. Let's go over that. I was under, well, I just thought, I wasn't under any kind of impression. I just thought, Leroy! I just thought that the XC and SX would share a bunch of gears. That is not the case. The SX, the 300 SX first gear is much taller. For my gear, the XC, it is a 1333. For the SX, it's 1448, or excuse me, 1428. Second gear on the XC is 1630. On this, it's 1626. On third gear is 1826 on the XC and 1824 on the SX. So that's the closest one to being the same. Fourth gear on my bike is on the XC is 2226. It's 2124 on the SX. Fifth gear is 2221, so it's almost 1-to-1. It's a little bit taller than 1-to-1, whereas fifth gear on my bike on the XC is 2323, so it is 1-to-1. And then obviously the XC has a sixth, which is 2622, so it's over, it's like an overdrive. Honestly, guys, that is probably the biggest difference between these bikes. Obviously, wheel size, tank size, whatever, that's all easily changed. Most of us are going to be putting a big tank on this bike anyway, because this is not a very big tank, and if we're going to do long cross-country stuff, you're going to want a bigger tank. Anyway, whatever. If you're thinking about buying an SX instead of an XC to save $2,000, it's maybe not a terrible idea as long as you're okay with the transmission. This transmission seems to be very SX-like all the old SXs. It's the same idea. Very close ratios, starting with a tall first, then really tight through fifth. Whereas this, the new XC, is definitely a lower first gear, and then the gear ratios are just a little more spread out than an SX. They're still much closer than an XCW, but they're further apart than the SX. If you are going to put a whole bunch of money into an XC or an SX and you don't mind the transmission, this is probably a better setup. You're getting basically the exact same bike for about $2,000 less. Tires, it comes with MX-33s front and rear, whereas the XC came with an MX-33 front and then an AT-81 rear. Probably has more to do with the 1918 setup than anything. Same triple clamps, same bars, pretty much all the same. Let's fire this thing up and hear what it sounds like. Has the same cold start setup over here. I did not use it that time, so let's go ahead and hit the cold start. Same way you turn it off. It's not all the way warmed up, so it might die. Map switch is the same. As far as we know, currently, the ignition timing and the power valve timing are the same between these two bikes. They've got the same head. We already know that for sure. The same dome insert in the head. They're the same from both bikes. They call for the same fuel, all that stuff. So I think that they have the same ignition, fuel, and power valve maps in it. Make sure you stick around and subscribe to the channel, guys, because Todd was kind enough to just drop this thing off and said, go ride it, do whatever you want. So we're going to be riding this thing and testing it against this bike back to back, feeling everything out. But everything I can tell and find is showing that the ignition, fuel, and power valve timing are the same on this as to the XC. Oh, also, I guess back to the whole, like, should you buy the SX or the XC? The fact that you get Excel hoops is kind of sweet. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a 19, but if you run mooses, who cares? And if you have another bike with other wheels, then who cares anyway? Because, you just have an 18 and a 19 wouldn't be bad. I have a 19 for this bike. or whatever bike, so I can run sand tires on it if I want. So I don't know, 19 doesn't bother me at all. Like I said, guys, make sure you ask any questions you have, because I'm gonna have this bike. I'm gonna try to get this video out right away so it's out and you guys can ask questions, and then I can address those questions in future videos before we have to give this thing back. We will be riding it in bone stock setup. Again, mine is not bone stock anymore, but we'll take them out. I know how mine felt when it was bone stock because it wasn't very long ago. We'll be riding this thing bone stock and checking it out, really seeing how it does compared to the XC. I think it's going to be really good. Let's take the seat off and see how different that looks underneath. Obviously, it's the same single bolt setup. Go forward. Looks very, very similar to the way mine did. OBD port right there. By the way, guys, I have been checking in with my other YouTube friends, and so far, no one can get into these computers that I know of. If you know someone who has been able to get in there and reset the flash code or anything like that, let me know. But I have not heard of anybody being able to do it, even with all the OBD2 readers and all that stuff. I'm assuming this one will do the same thing if we hit that start button twice, but I'm not going to find out. It's not my motorcycle, and I'm not going to set a flash code off for Todd. It's got the same extra fuse here for the fuel pump, and I mean, everything really looks basically the same. That's good. Let's take a look inside the airbox. There we go. Same airbox. Does have the capacitor, so it will be able to be bump started. That's good to know. It means it'll run without a battery. By the way, I'm really liking the airbox cover design. The way it snaps on, snaps off is really nice. Like I said, the pipe looks identical. It might not be, but it really looks close. So I don't know if the pipe is the same. I'm sure the mounting points are the same, which that's cool. Same radiator cap. Let's see if I can get this one off. Some people are able to get theirs off. I was not able to get mine. Oh. There we go. Haha. Got it off. Basically because I learned from watching, I think, Rick Emerson's video. He used his whole body to lean down on it, so that's cool. It is the same radiator cap, which is still kind of a pain in the butt to get off, but whatever. Figured that out. All the radiator hoses are the same. That's another thing you guys might be wondering. It does still have the temp sensor in the radiator hose up here. Little plastic T up there. It's got a temp sensor in there. So it does have the port for the Wi-Fi module that's coming. So that's cool. SXs will be just like that. That's pretty nice. I don't know, guys. I think that's about it as far as the walk around of this thing. Pretty much an identical bike to the XC. Really the biggest difference is the transmission. Everything else is pretty ancillary as far as wheel, tank, things like that. Suspension, I'm sure the valving is probably a little stiffer in this, which might actually be good for a lot of folks. I had to stiffen mine up for racing. I think for trail riding, it might be too stiff no matter what you do to that suspension. But all right, guys, I think that is going to conclude the walk around video and the quick differences between this and the 300XC. 300SX is pretty awesome. Like I said before, make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys. We're going to be riding this thing, doing a few modifications to it. We'll probably be doing suspension stuff like that down the road, but we have some kind of basic stuff Todd wants us to do while we have it. But we are going to be testing it bone stock against my bike very, very soon. Thank you guys so much. Get out and pop some wheelies.